Hello. Okay, so this is my DJI Mavic Mini review. So we'll start with unboxing. Okay, I've already unboxed it obviously, so I'm just going to unpack it from its little case. So this is the case it comes in. Very nice. Holds everything neatly. Now I got this as the DJI Mavic Mini combo, which includes three batteries, a battery charger, cables, controller and drone, and this case, as well as a barrier, a cage, to protect it if you're flying indoors. Does add to the weight, so you probably wouldn't use it outdoors unless you're in a really a fraught environment with lots of obstacles. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, the drone. Okay, put that aside for a second. So here's your Mavic Mini. Now this is my first drone ever. I did a lot of research before I decided on this one, and my main bearing was price point and camera quality. So what I wanted was a drone that was good enough to be manageable for a beginner, but not cheap and nasty enough that it had a bad camera on it. So what I did was I jumped on YouTube and I looked at the videos, sample videos that other reviewers had shot with their drone Mavic Mini. And on that basis, I found that at the price point of this one, which was within my price range, that it was probably as cheap as you'd want to go and still have pretty reasonable camera quality. Anything cheaper that I could find was not great camera quality, so very pixelated, very washed out, watercolory kind of footage like you get with a cheap camera. So this is better than a dash cam. It's about the same quality as a mid-range compact camera. Same size sensor, and takes quite good photos in photo mode, as well as excellent video. Now, the video from this, one of the main reasons why it's so good, not other than the camera, is the stabilization. So you'll notice that it has its own little gimbal. That's stabilized, so there's not much shaking in the footage. But not only that, this camera has excellent GPS ability. So it'll sit and hover in place. The gimbal will stabilize the image. And when you're even up quite high, unless the wind's really blowing, or even if it is blowing, you'll get a very steady, very steady footage, like it's on a tripod almost. There's no jinking, jumping around, or anything like that. Just rock solid, which for me is one of the main selling points. Now I can let go of the controls while it's up there, and it'll just sit there and hover, filming away, or I could be thinking about what composition I want for the photo I want to take or whatever, and just let it sit there and do its thing. So as a camera platform, this is brilliant for the money. So I paid $800, including the Fly More combo, which, as I said at the beginning, includes those extras. If you just buy the drone on its own, $600 for the drone, one battery, and a USB lead to charge it. Okay, so on the charging, I'll get back more on that later, but it's quick charge capable. Okay, so So that's the drone. Now, very small. You can get accessories where you can clamp down, hold down these propellers, and so you can kind of chuck it in a bag or something. But I strongly recommend keeping it or transporting it in its case, or a case. There's lots of aftermarket options. Okay, so that's the drone. Now, opening it up, it's pretty straightforward. You pop that guy out, pop that guy out, you roll that down, same on this side, and there you've got it. Now, there's no extender legs, and these props are quite low to the ground. So you want to be careful where you're landing it. Like if you land that in tall grass, it's going to foul the props, and you might pick up some crap in the rotor or something like that. So you want to watch out for that. Yeah. Okay, so just on that, a little accessory that's not a bad idea is this. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but this is what you might buy. Or you could print something. Comes with a couple of pegs to pin it to the ground. That's just that. That's a landing pad. So you can put that on tallish grass or whatever, and you'll have no trouble landing the drone safely. So put that aside. Okay, so the drone. Just one word of warning: this gimbal protects. This gimbal protector protects your gimbal. It's troublesome to fit. Not if you take care though. Like if you're just patient, pop that in place. Now you want to take that off before you start. If you don't, the gimbal's going to knock around on it, but also the app will warn you. So you pop that off when you're ready to go. But you just want to try and remember to put that on when you finish flying. Don't chuck this in a bag or somewhere without the gimbal protector. That gimbal protector, I'm going to imagine, is quite sensitive. You don't want to foul that up because you'd really basically ruin the drone then. Okay, so once you've done that, you're ready to fly. We'll get into flight and connecting and stuff in a second, but I'll just go through some of the rest of the features. Okay, so this drone is 2.7K. Not a full 4K. If that's an issue for you, you'll want to look further afield. But I found that just going by the video quality, unless you really have a need for 4K, but you want to get into drone photography, then this is a really good place to start. Okay, now the other thing about this, not so relevant in Australia, but in some countries where 250 grams is the maximum a drone can be before you pushed into needing a license or needing registration. So this is 249 grams. 249 grams. So it's legal in most countries to be flown as a home user, not as an unregistered whatever. In Australia, it's actually up to 2 kilograms, so it's not the same issue, but it is a very light drone. But don't let the lightness fool you. It's incredibly stable once it's in flight. It's something I'm very impressed with, actually. Much better than cheaper 4K drones. So unless you really need that 4K footage and prices, a budget is a holding point, then I would go with this one rather than a 4K, to be honest. Okay, so it's 249 grams, it's 2.7K video, takes I think 12 megapixel photos, I've forgotten now, or 8. I'll put it in the comments. But anyway, it also takes pretty good photos. It has, in photo mode, you can adjust the exposure and the white balance and the ISO. So it's got a lot of control. And with firmware update, you can adjust ISO and exposure and video mode as well. So you've got a lot of control. For a cheap camera, cheap drone, it's actually a pretty decent camera and video camera. Okay, so now the way it records to SD card, micro SD card, and while you are filming, you connected your camera phone to the controller. I'll show you that in a second. Video is streaming back to the phone, right? So your phone and your controller, connects to your phone. So the video is streaming from this device as it's flying back to your phone, but it's not streaming back in the full 2.7 or HD resolution that you might be filming at. It's only coming through at 720p. So the stream you're getting on your phone is 720p. It's enough for you to guide the drone, to watch what's going on with the drone when you're flying it. And it also means you've got, if anything happens to the drone or to the micro SD card, you do have that 720p copy streaming live to your phone. Now that brings me to one of the problems I've found with this. This is actually not a very good selling point, and I don't know whether this is my drone, it was something unique to me, maybe my memory card, although I think I've tried at least two. But occasionally it will corrupt a file towards the end of its flight time. So if you push it right out to 30 minutes, sometimes you find that the last bit of video you took is corrupted. So that's where having that 720p version means you didn't lose it completely. You've still got the 720p version. But that's not ideal, and that's actually, I'm still very happy with this drone because it's so proficient. But that's something I want to try and get a handle on, what is causing that happening. I think what it might be is that it's overheating, and the solution seems to be not to push it right to the end of its battery life, and also to stop and start your recording every once in a while, so you end up with shorter segments. So if you do lose a segment, it's only a short segment, and you can fill it in with a 720p version on the phone if you really need to. Wouldn't be ideal, obviously. If you're making a video, you'd have to upscale it. It wouldn't be the same quality. But there is that flaw, and having the fact that the video is streaming to your phone, you have that 720p version. It is good. But this would also apply, even if you didn't have the memory card problem, this would also apply in a case where the drone went into water or where you lost it or something. At least you don't completely lose your last piece of footage, or your last memory card of footage that you haven't copied yet. So anyway, it has micro SD card. Same as any device that can record up to 2.7K, use a relevant speed memory card. This one is a U1 and A1 10. I don't know if the camera can make that out. Not really. Okay, so that pops in there. Also adjacent to that is the charging port. So you can charge the battery that's in here with a micro USB lead. Don't have to. If you've got the Fly More combo pack, you've got a battery charger as well. Battery goes in there. I'll show you that in a second. These are ventilation ports under here. These are not. They're fake. Kind of visually emulating the proximity sensors of some of the more expensive drones. This doesn't have those proximity sensors. There's no collision avoidance on this, forward or backward, only down with those guys there. So that'll prevent you from hitting something below the drone. If you go over something that is lower, that is at the level of the drone, it'll come up a bit to avoid hitting it. So it does have downward collision avoidance, and also uses those sensors to help steady it and land it, but it otherwise doesn't have collision avoidance. So if you fly this and you're a beginner, you just want to give yourself a chance to get used to it. Key point to remember is that if you go sideways, literally or figuratively, let go of the controls and it'll stop and hover until you can work out what you're doing with the drone to get it back into a safe position. Okay, so we're getting through it. So I'll show you the batteries. Okay, so again, you have this little pack here, controller. I'll show you that in a second. Batteries. You also get spare propellers, which are in there. And I cut out the top of this box so that I could more easily store cables and stuff in the little package it comes with, storage case. And I also keep in here my CASA ARN number. Now what that is if you want to use a drone commercially, even if it's within the CASA regulations under 2 kilograms, you need to have registered yourself. Doesn't cost anything with CASA, Civil Aviation Standards Australia, and you need to get that number so you can legally use a drone commercially. Still have to apply by the operating conditions, which is no closer than 30 metres to people, no higher than 120 metres, no closer than 5.5 kilometres to airports, don't fly over people, and don't fly at night. A few other things, those are the main ones. You still have to adhere to those like a non-commercial user, but you cannot use your drone commercially unless you have that license, that registration. It doesn't cost anything. So I keep that number in there in case anyone questions me if I'm using the drone commercially. So now I also keep spare memory cards and cables. Now, as I mentioned, this is quick charge capable. This is your little quick charge docking station. This is freaking brilliant. Okay, so your batteries come out. And I'll explain that in a little bit, but just to show you how it goes into the drone, pop that up, slot that in there, pop the door down, you're ready to go. You turn it on. I'll do the connectivity in a second. Okay. Comes out. They have a little press thing. You got to press there to pull it out. Okay, so this charger operates as a charger. See how the lights come on to detect the state of charge of each battery. So you charge up with a USB cable plugged into a quick charger. One comes with the unit, of course. You can use any QC3 quick charger, I think. That plugs in there. Now you can also, if these batteries, or even one of these batteries, is charged, you can plug a USB lead into there and use this as a battery bank. I don't know why you'd want to waste your batteries charging a phone or something for your drone. Have another battery bank for that. But in an emergency you could. You just obviously reduce the charge available for flying the drone. Now you get 30 minutes per battery. 30 minutes flight time, which is quite good, and it's a solid 30 minutes too. It's not a unrealistic claim at all. I found that from flying it out to 30 minutes. So the flight time's really good, 30 minutes. So you got an hour and a half there of flight time. It's brilliant. Now, charging this on a quick charger, what it'll do is it'll charge the first one, then the next one, then the next one. If you've got two fully charged batteries in here, it'll charge the middle one. So it'll basically go through, charge one until it's charged, charge the next one until it's charged, charge the next one until it's charged. And then, just say, okay, so you've got a controller. We'll get into him in a second. But you can charge that. That's got an internal battery. Now you can charge that via micro USB as well. You can also take your micro USB lead and plug it into here and use this charger to charge your controller as a battery bank. However, if you've got a USB plugged into there from your quick charger and you've got this plugged into your controller, what it'll do is it'll charge the batteries first and then it'll charge the controller. So if you want it, say for example, you've got 3 batteries. 2 of them are dead, one's got charge in it. But you want it to charge the controller first, you'd pop these out. It'd charge up the controller. And then you pop these in and then it will charge these 2 batteries. No need to unplug any cables or anything. So it's a pretty intelligent little charging unit. You can use this button here to switch between whether you're charging these batteries or whatever's attached to the USB port. So you can force it to charge the controller first. And then these guys. Okay, very, very handy. I'm glad I bought that little kit. It all fits in quite well to the case too. Okay, so now getting to the nitty gritty. I won't do flight tests today. What I will do is I'll add some sample video to this video. But I will show you how this little controller works. Okay, so you pop that out, put your aerials up, and plug that in. Okay, so what this is just a cable to connect your controller to your phone, the phone that you're going to use as your visual display. You don't need a phone to use this drone. You can use this controller as is. These guys come out, screw into the. So this is just like a gamepad or something. So you can use that like that. You can turn it on, turn the drone on, they'll connect, and away you go. Take off, take photos, take video, control the drone, all you want, no worries at all. But you've got no visual feedback. So if you do want to, and you probably mostly will, you use a device, a phone, and you can get mounts and leads compatible with tablets, so you can use an Android or iPhone tablet. So what you want to do is connect your phone. So you connect it up, get these kind of out of the way, get your phone, plug it in. In the box, you've got this lead, which is micro USB. You've got, and I use this spare phone as the controller, so I'm not using my main phone, which is down here. You've also got a USB-C as well as Lightning. So you can plug in pretty much any mobile phone or tablet, except Windows tablets. No app for that. Okay. So, controller drone, almost ready to go. We've got to connect. Now, I won't go too much into the app with this. I'll do the app and flight control in another video. This is more just kind of to give you a general idea about this drone. But when you connect the app and you connect the phone, and then you can fly the drone, you can see what's going on the screen. You can take photos and video, and as I said, you get that stream, that 720p stream coming back, saving on the mobile device. Now this uses its own Wi-Fi. So it's a proprietary Wi-Fi system. I think it's 5.8 gigahertz. The range is phenomenal. It's about 2K. So you can get out to 2 kilometers and back on a single charge if you go straight out and straight back. I haven't tested the range, but I've watched videos where they've demonstrated the range. And it's all between the controller and the drone. Your phone Wi-Fi has got nothing to do with it. The phone is connected via USB to the controller, not via Wi-Fi. Some of the ones that don't have a controller, the phone uses its Wi-Fi to connect to the drone, and while that's happening, your phone doesn't have any connection to the outside world because the Wi-Fi is going through the device, mobile device, to the drone. In this case, you've still got 3 or 4G connection active. I don't have a SIM card in this phone, but if I did, I'd be able to use the internet, whatever. For example, apps for looking up safe areas to fly or legal areas to fly. I'll just do that on my mobile, but you could do it on the same device if you're using your mobile to control the drone. So yeah, proprietary Wi-Fi between the controller and the drone, not between the phone and the drone. So if you're buying a setup like this and you're used to the cheaper ones where you use your mobile phone, this might throw you at first. Different kind of idea. And because it's using that proprietary Wi-Fi setup, it's less susceptible to interference from other Wi-Fi on the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz range. And it has that range, much better range. Okay, so that's your kind of controller there. One controller I forgot to mention is your gimbal up down, so you can rotate the gimbal up or down. Yeah, so this guy here goes up or down. And it only goes up about 20 degrees, I think. And you have to set it in settings to allow it to go up, otherwise it's straight horizontal to straight vertical down. And you can do FPV mode where the gimbal is locked, or I forget what they call it, but there's normal mode where when the drone turns, the gimbal stays level. So you can choose either way to fly it, and you'll get different videos. So if you want a kind of exciting, like racing video, you'd have it on FPV. But if you want that nice, stable, flat, level platform, to use it like a flying tripod, you leave it in the normal mode. I'm going to put this guy back on here so I don't forget and damage it. Okay, so yeah, we'll get into connectivity and flight tests and things like that in another video, but that gives you a pretty good idea of how that all works. So there's that. Just a little bit more on the specification of the drones. I mentioned it's got a range of 2 kilometers. It's got a ceiling of 500 meters. You can only legally fly to 120 meters in Australia unless you've got a license, and not the commercial license I was talking about before, but actual remote pilot license, remote pilot's license. that 500 meters range isn't much use to you unless you just want to turn off the ceiling and break the law. Don't recommend it. Also, if at any point you want to get a license, you don't want to break the law and like get caught and have that on your record. Even if you're happy to pay the fine, it's going to make it more difficult for you to get a actual license. So probably don't fly it above 120 meters. 120 meters is very high and quite good. It's as high as a lot of skyscrapers, so you can get pretty decent views from 120 meters. You won't really usually need much more than that. So 120 meter ceiling, or 500 if you want to push it. 30-minute flight time, 2.7K video or HD video. Manual camera settings, no RAW mode, but manual controls in both video and camera mode, photo mode. What else can I tell you about this? It's proprietary Wi-Fi, as I mentioned, 5.8 gigahertz, so it's reasonably immune to interruptions. Good little drone. One other thing to mention, Geo Fencing. So a lot of drones have it now. I think DJI might have kind of pioneered it in Australia and around the world. DJI really want to sell these things to a lot of people. And to do that, they have to make sure that drones don't become a thing that governments want to control too much. Otherwise, that will limit numbers of people who are going to buy them, and then DJI will lose their market. So they've integrated geofencing into their drones. Now, what geofencing is? Geofencing is where maps of areas you're not allowed to fly your drone due to local flight regulations are programmed into the drone, and its GPS has GPS. So it will not fly if it's near an airport. The only way you can get it fly if you're within the zone is maps that show you where you can fly and where you can't. If you're flying within a no-fly zone, the drone won't take off. You can get it to, but only if you enter a key provided to you by DJI, if you apply to them with your relevant authority from CASA, which is the Australian regulatory body, but whatever in America or wherever you are, whatever your relevant federal flight regulatory body is, you will need to get approval from them. Give that approval to DJI, and they will then give you an unlock code. You can unlock your drone and you can fly within that area. And usually you would need to have a license to get that authorization and a reason to get that authorization from the regulatory body anyway. So you're not really going to be able to fly this drone anywhere where you're not legally allowed to. Unless it's like at night or something, because it's not legal to fly at night or over people. You'll be able to do things like that. Don't recommend it, but you won't be able to fly within those geo-fenced zones. And it's probably a good thing because it means you can't accidentally break the law and get yourself a big fine. So anyway, there is that worth knowing. You can probably still get drones that don't have geofencing, but I actually recommend it. It's good peace of mind. You can feel secure that you're not going to break. I've had a couple of instances of that. I've gone down to the airport near Banyo and Northgate, the beach down there, and tried to fly and couldn't take off. Said geofencing. Tells you why. And that was good. I was happy then because I wasn't breaking the law. It was disappointing. Couldn't get the footage I wanted there. I had to drive a little bit to get out of range of that geofence, but it's there. So I had a few interesting times I wanted to get some footage of the Gateway Bridge, and kind of fly up, pan up near, but not within 30 meters of the Gateway Bridge. And most of the Gateway Bridge is within a geo fence zone. I couldn't get close enough to get any of the footage I really like, but I will be able to on the other side of the river. So I'll go over to Lytton at some point, drive around there. There's a park there near the bridge where from the map looks like you can fly it. I'll be able to get the footage I want. So you might have to look at your maps, look at the geofencing maps, go for a drive, find places you can fly your drone if you want to get certain shots that are near airports. For example, you might want to have a shot where you can see, where you can watch the planes, coming in for half an hour. It'd be a pretty cool video you could use snippets of. But you're not going to be able to get up really close, but you can get, so it's not 5.5 kilometers per se, that's the general rule, but it's actually more like an envelope, a long envelope, flared out at the ends. So there are points where you can get closer than 5.5 kilometers to the airport legally, with by following the geofencing and by following the maps. You just have to check it out. The 5.5 kilometer radius is just a kind of general rule, but there's also, it's not only, it actually extends past 5.5 kilometers in some areas, radiating out from the runways where the flights are coming in and leaving. But when out past 5.5 kilometers, it's based on altitude, so you can still take your drone, but you might only be able to go to 30 meters or 80 meters up to 120 meters, depending on how far away you are, how much higher than you the flight path is, and in those areas that are further than 5.5 kilometers away from the runways. So it's a little bit complicated, but the geofencing in this will prevent you from breaking those rules. It's good. So what else can I say about this drone? Probably not too much more at this point. I will, just another thing on the video. One thing I was impressed with the video on this, compared to your kind of dash cams and even GoPro, which I'm recording this with, you tend to have a problem with blown highlights. This is pretty good as far as that goes. Surprisingly good. It doesn't suffer too badly. You will get blown highlights, especially if you're looking straight at the sun, but it's pretty balanced footage. There's no HDR mode, but the contrast and dynamic range is pretty good. So give it a go, have a look at my videos. If you're wanting to buy one, jump online on YouTube and look up reviews of sample footage. There's lots of them. It's how I decided. But it's pretty good. The other thing with it is that the pixelation's not too bad. If you're moving quickly through a scene, there'll be a bit of pixelation in trees, particularly trees and foliage and stuff like that, which is pretty renowned for it. Very difficult for cameras to reliably capture foliage. But once you stop or just slowly pan, you won't have any problems. It'll be crisp, clear footage. And you'll be able to take freeze frames, even if you're not in photo mode, you'll be able to take freeze frames from your captured video that'll serve perfectly well as photos. 2.7K photos, but still pretty good photos. Which actually reminds me something to tell you. These controllers are, well, they're not analog, digital obviously, but they operate like analog controllers. The more you press it, the faster it goes. So if you just want to pan slowly, you just hold it a little bit. If you want to pan quicker, you hold it more. So you can control the speed at which it pans, or the speed at which it flies, or speed at which it goes up and down, or the speed at which it rotates. So you can control. So you've got very fine control. It takes a little bit of practice to get good at it, but you've got very fine control. And because you're not thumbing a touchpad, touch screen to operate the controls, you can do combination movements so much easier and with so much more control. So takes a bit of practice, so you probably won't start off doing those fine controls until you get used to it. But when you start playing with it, it's amazing how powerful it is. So you can create some really cool cinematic shots with just a little practice, and you get better the more you do it. Whereas with the touchscreen ones, it's one speed. If you want to pan, it goes at the speed that it pans at. If you want to fly, it flies the speed that it flies at. If you want to go up, it goes up at the speed that it goes up at. Got no control. You can't really create stunning cinematic shots that way. You're very limited. You can do basic ones, but you can't get creative. So having this being my first drone, and having learnt with these controllers, and then going back to playing with other drones that only have a camera phone as the... Okay, sorry guys, I lost you there. The battery went down on the GoPro, so I'm still getting used to know my GoPro. I don't know how long I was talking for there, but the battery ran dead. So I probably won't use the GoPro for video in the future, but anyway, that'll see how we go. Okay, so what I was saying was, yeah, you got your analog like controls, brilliant. I love it. It's hard to go back to a screen, touch screen based controller. Although that works perfectly well, but you just don't have that fine control for your real cinematic moves. Yeah, so that's that. Next video will be connecting the two, a look at the app, some flight examples of controlling it, and flight examples. We'll get to all that, but for now I'll close off, and thanks for watching.